Hey everybody, welcome back to this channel. Today we'll be covering the medial compartment of the thigh. So yeah, let's begin. Now, before we begin, this is going to be just an overview session on the medial compartment of the thigh. At the end, you should have like a very basic outline understanding of this chapter, so that when you actually start studying, it might be a little easier for you to understand and grasp the content in your textbooks. So yeah, let's begin with the muscles of the medial compartment. So now the muscles of the medial compartment of the thigh, they are organized into three distinct layers. Okay, three distinct layers, which are the anterior, the middle layer, and the posterior layer. The anterior layer is generally made up of three different muscles, which is the pectineus, adductor longus, and gracilis. Middle layer, adductor brevis. The posterior layer, the adductor magnus. So it's three here, one here, one here, which makes it 5 muscles, which make up the medial compartment of the thigh, plus another extra muscle called the obturator externus, which makes it 6 muscles at the end. Now, after we're done with studying these muscles, we're going to move on to the obturator nerve, which is generally what innervates most of these muscles in the medial compartment. The profunda femoris and the obturator artery are the major vessels which supply the medial compartment of the thigh. So to revise, the muscles are oriented in three different layers: anterior, middle, and posterior. Anterior has got three different muscles: pectineus, adductor longus, and gracilis. The middle layer, adductor brevis. Posterior, adductor longus. So it's 5 plus another one, which is the obturator externus, which gives us a grand total of 6 muscles. Now, let's delve deep into these muscles and look at basically their origins, insertions, innovations, and certain important points that I think is necessary and might be asked in your examinations. Let's start with gracilis. Okay, so here we have a diagram of the lower limb. Basically, here you can see this is the gracilis muscle, this one here, this long muscle. So gracilis is the most superficial and the medial muscle in the medial compartment. One important feature of the gracilis muscle is that it crosses both the hip as well as the knee joint. Notice here that it crosses the hip as well as the knee joint here, which is an important feature of the gracilis muscle. Okay. It is also sometimes transplanted into the hand or forearm, if like in surgeries where they replace damaged muscles in the upper limb. So then let's move on with the origin and insertion. Gracilis, its origin is the inferior pubic ramus below the pubic. This is the pubic symphysis, right below the pubic symphysis on the inferior pubic ramus. This is the pubic ramus. Take the inferior aspect of it, you get the origin of the gracilis muscle. Pretty chill, huh? Insertion, insert into tibia, right there, here. Cool? Yep, that's gracilis. So if you look at the actions of the gracilis muscle, it generally adducts the thigh at the hip and flexes the leg at the knee. So adduction of thigh at hip and flexion of leg at knee. Flexion at knee. Forgive my handwriting, but I know it's pretty bad, but yeah. Yep. So the next superficial muscle that we're going to be talking about would be the adductor longus muscle. Adductor longus is this muscle here is the adductor longus. It is a large flat muscle. You can see it's large and flat. It is not the largest muscle of the medial compartment. That goes to grasp adductor magnus, but it's large and flat. It partially covers adductor brevis and adductor magnus, because this is a very superficial muscle. Beneath this muscle we have the adductor brevis and the adductor magnus. Let's look at its origin and insertion. Adductor longus, it originates at the superior pubic ramus, right here. As I told you in the previous one, this is the pubic ramus. It originates at the superior end of the pubic ramus and at the anterior side of pubic symphysis. Anterior side, pubic symphysis is here. This is your pubic ramus. So superior aspect of pubic ramus and anterior to the pubic symphysis is the origin for the adductor longus muscle, whereas its insertion is at the femur. This is a femur muscle. It is inserted into the linea aspera. If you want to be more specific, use the word medial lip of the linea aspera. Medial lip of linea aspera. Alright, so that's our adductor longus. The next muscle here that we're going to be talking about would be adductor brevis. I want you to notice that these three muscles form the anterior layer. Erector brevis forms the medial layer, which I've talked about just a few minutes ago. But all of these muscles are pretty superficial, so yeah, I just included that in the superficial layer here. So Erector brevis, this muscle here, Erector brevis, its origin again is pretty similar. Inferior pubic rami, it's again below the adductor longus, so it's got to originate below adductor longus, right? Adductor longus originates at the superior pubic ramus. Erector brevis is below adductor longus, so it has got to originate inferior pubic ramus. Just connect the dots here. It will make studying anatomy easier. Again, the insertion is at the femur, more specifically the medial lip of linea aspera. Pectineus. Alright, so let's look at pectineus. Pectineus right here. This nice cute looking muscle here. Pectineus. Pectineus originates at the pecten pubis. This region here attaches into the femur. If you want to be more specific again, pectineal line. Makes sense again, right? Pecten, pectinus, pecten pubis, pectineal line. There we go. So those are four muscles. Just to revise, we have pectineus here. Pectineus origins at pecten pubis, attaches at pectineal line in the femur. Done. Next, Erector longus, this muscle here, erector longus, big flat muscle, origins at the superior pubic ramus, just anterior to the pubic symphysis, attaches at the femur, the medial lip of linea aspera. Boom, done. Next, Erector brevis, origins at like inferior pubic ramus, attaches at the femur. Okay, so now let's explore the deep muscles of the medial compartment. So the deeply seated muscles here are the obturator externus muscle and the adductor magnus muscle, right here, these two muscles. This is the obturator externus muscle. It is one of the smaller muscles of the thigh and is very superiorly located, as you can see right here. It's got its origin at the outer surface of the obturator membrane and insertions into the trochanteric fossa. Here we have the greater trochanter, the lesser trochanter, inserted into the trochanteric fossa. The actions of the obturator externus, it is generally an adductor, but along with that it is also responsible for the lateral rotation of the hip. So yeah, keep that in mind. Now the next muscle is adductor magnus, is one of the largest muscle in the medial compartment. Alright, it is a very deeply seated muscle, posterior to all the other muscles of the medial compartment. Now adductor magnus can be divided into two different parts. First one, the adductor part. Second one, the hamstring part. Now each of these parts have different attachments, basically origins and insertions. The origin of the adductor part is inferior pubic ramus and the ischial ramus. Alright, it is inserted into the femur, the linea aspera of the femur, more specifically the medial lip of the linea aspera of the femur, right here. The hamstring part though has its origin from the ischial tuberosity, attaches into the adductor tubercle right here. So that's about the adductor magnus muscle. Its actions, both these parts generally are adductors of the thigh. The adductor component also flexes the thigh. Adductor component flexes the thigh, and the hamstring portion extends the thigh. So both of these basically cause adduction, but along with that the adductor component, flexion of the thigh, hamstring component, extension of the thigh. So that's about the muscles of the medial compartment of the thigh. Obturator nerve is one of the major peripheral nerve of the lower limb, its nerve roots being L2 to L4. It innervates the muscles of the medial compartment of the thigh. Now, the obturator nerve enters the medial compartment via the obturator canal, which is somewhere around here. At this point, it divides into an anterior branch, an anterior division, and a posterior division. The branch which is anterior to the adductor brevis muscle we refer to as the anterior division, and the branch which is posterior to the erector brevis muscle we refer to as the posterior branch. So this descends in a plane between the erector brevis and the longus, the anterior division. The anterior division supplies the erector brevis muscle. It supplies the gracilis muscle, and it supplies the erector longus muscle, which in this case is dissected, which you can appreciate here. Erector brevis, erector longus, gracilis, and pectineus. Most of the muscle of the medial compartment supplied by the obturator nerve. This then pierces the fascia lata and becomes cutaneous branch of the obturator nerve. So then the second division, the posterior part of the obturator nerve, it descends posterior to the erector brevis muscle. It pierces obturator externus muscle, descends in a plane between erector brevis and erector magnus. So it basically runs between erector brevis and erector magnus, innervates erector magnus and the obturator externus. So basically the deep set of muscles or the posterior muscles. I hope this video has been informative, and the intention was basically to give you a basic outline of what you should be expecting with this chapter, the medial compartment of the thigh. And I feel like I've covered all the major key points that are required for examinations. Though if you have any comments as to how I can improve and make this better, please feel free to go nuts in the comments. Thank you for listening, thank you for tuning in, and happy studying, guys. Bye bye.